Hello everyone, welcome back to the homestead. We had just finished up Passover and Week of Unleavened Bread. It was so nice to have some just really good fellowship time. I was so thankful for the much needed days of rest. Now we're back to lots of gardening and all the normal spring things on the homestead. So this morning we had one of our just typical farm breakfasts, scrambled eggs and some blueberry crumble. And in the midst of breakfast, we had a bit of an adventure this morning. Nate came in with 4 baby goslings. We had a big storm last night, and so these goslings got separated from the mama and were just completely drenched and cold. Didn't know if they were gonna make it. So all hands on deck, everyone helped out, and we are doing our best to save the little goslings. You had one in your lap for almost an hour, huh? Getting it all warmed up and dry. Hopefully they make it, huh? So far, so good. So that's a blessing. Nate's been doing a great job taking care of all the goslings that are hatching out a little earlier than normal. So he's had 3 hatches so far. One had 5 goslings, one had 6, and one had 7. So far 2 have died. So one died in the storm last night, but he's doing a really good job rotating them through different spaces to keep them safe, because when they're really little they can get out of our horse fencing, and if they get separated from the mamas and we have cold or rain, they just don't do well. So he's got the oldest crew on our swale, and they're almost big enough that they can't get through that horse fencing anymore. They're doing great. He's got the next hatch that's still pretty young in an old chicken coop, and they can't get out of that one, so they're safe with their parents. And then that third hatch was they just hatched out, and the mama's on the far side of the pasture, kind of right next to the road there. So for some reason her babies didn't stay under her through the night, and we're having to help them out a bit. If they're underneath her, hopefully they'll be fine. A couple other quick updates before we move on to our early spring kitchen garden tour is Dahlia is doing great. She's growing so fast. She's really beautiful and is such a sweet calf. We've really been enjoying her. We've been enjoying milking her mama too, who's given us more milk than we've ever gotten for her. So I think she's at her peak right now. So we're enjoying that fresh milk. Nadie just turned 16. Our third oldest just turned 16. Caleb's gonna be turning 21 soon. Oh, time is flying so fast. We are just enjoying our children so much as they grow up and all the different stages they're going through. The older they get, the deeper our relationship gets. The more we're able to talk about deep spiritual things and dig into the Word together and into prayer. It's been such a blessing. We praise Yah for all that He's doing in the lives of our children and in their hearts. Glory to Him. Alright, so it's early in the season. There's not a whole lot going on in the garden, although there are a lot of spring blooms right now, which we're really enjoying. But we're only going to tour the kitchen garden today because we haven't started planting in our main crop yet. We've got a lot of starts ready to go out, but we've got about 4 nights ahead of us that look like they're going to frost or freeze. So we're not going to put those little baby plants out until we get past these next few days. And those are going to go out in the main crop, which to me is so exciting. If you've been following our channel, you know that we've been dreaming about having this main crop garden space set up for years. So I'm really excited this year to be making some real forward progress in that space and having all that extra room to grow veggies this year. So the first harvest that we've been getting from our kitchen garden is actually in our veggiega bed that's right on the edge of our cabin. It's on a patio area, and we've got some kale that we actually put in there last fall that overwintered. Some of it's going to seed, but we're still harvesting from that. We've got some lettuce tucked in there as well, and we're going to be putting some new kale and lettuce plants in as those old ones come out. Then in one of our annual beds, we've got our first planting of lettuce. We've got Merlot and Landis Winter. It's a little bit late for that to be going in the ground, but we're hoping that we'll still get a harvest from that. That's one of our favorite overwinter lettuces, and we usually plant it in the fall and begin harvesting it early spring, but this year we planted it late, so we'll see how it does in the spring as a spring harvest. Also in that bed we've got some kale, and then we left a little space open so we didn't put compost on it because last year we had ground cherries in that spot, and we're hoping that they're going to self-seed as they've done in the past, and we'll actually transplant those little plants out into a new bed in the main crop area, and then we'll cover that with compost and plant something else there this year later in the season. Moving around to the backyard where we usually plant mostly flowers, we decided to plant a bunch more annual veggies just like we did last year, and so I gave Esther our little herb circle. It's intended for herbs, but we haven't used it for herbs yet. So she's using that space doing a really fun experiment this year. She's doing an artistic vegetable garden area there. So she's got cabbage and chard and onions, and she's placed them mirroring each other. She planted each of the 4 sections the same, and so it's going to be fun to see how that goes. She also has some lettuce in another bed. I believe it's Marvel of 4 Seasons. It's a lettuce that we grew a couple years ago, saved seed from. We didn't plant it last year, so we thought we'd try it again this year. It looks to be doing great. And then she has another kind of miscellaneous bed that's got some bok choy and chard, and I think she's going to direct sow some radish in that bed as well. Our main row of annual beds, one of them is not prepped yet. We're going to be planting cauliflower, broccoli, and kohlrabi in that bed, but I don't want those starts to go out until after the cold spell here. So we'll prep that bed probably the end of the week or early next week and get that planted. And then next to that we've got a little row of chard, a few onions, which had to kind of fix that bed up. We've had a chicken get in the other day. Someone left the gate open. Oops. And we had some chickens come through when we weren't home for hours, and they just dug up a bunch of plants. So I tried to replant as many as I could. Hopefully they're going to make it. And then at the end of that bed we have carrots, and this year we're trying for the first time putting boards down to help the germination of the carrots. So far the boards are just creating a wonderful habitat for a lot of bugs. And so we're probably going to pull those off here soon, and hopefully it worked to help the carrot seeds germinate. We'll see. We haven't seen good germination yet though. The next bed is completely full of potatoes that are just starting to come up. You can't see them, they're just little teeny starts, and we're going to be burying those today, covering them so that they don't get damaged by the frost that's coming. And then the next bed we have our first planting of radishes that have not yet come up. It's old seed, so I'm not sure if we're going to get a really good harvest off of that, but we're trying to use up all of our old seed and hope for the best. Next to the first planting of radishes we've got some onions, and then the other half of that bed is waiting for a planting of bush beans, but not yet. Then the next bed is another whole bed of potatoes, and then last but not least we have another bed of pretty much all onions, and I decided to start all of our onions from seed this year and see how it goes. So as long as the chickens stop digging up our little onion starts, hopefully we'll have a good onion harvest starting them from seed. And then at the end of that bed I did plug in a little bit of garlic left over from last season. I usually plant our garlic in the fall, but we had some extra garlic that overwintered and was starting to grow in our pantry, so I decided to do just a little patch of garlic at the end of that bed. Well, next up we have our double arch trellis that's been fantastic. If you've never made a trellis out of cattle panels, we highly recommend them. They work fantastic. This one's been going for years for us, and we've grown so much over it. So this year underneath on one side we've got potatoes growing. The other side is going to be some bush beans, and then of course we're going to be growing pole beans over the top of one side and cucumbers over the top of the other side, but it's not time for those yet. As you walk through the double arch trellis, you come to kind of a flower herb area of the garden that I really enjoy. We've got some lavender and echinacea, and then lots of spring blooms going right now. It's just so fun. And then over along the edge of the turkey yard, we've got our strawberry beds. We always plant garlic in with this strawberry, so the garlic's looking great. We're starting to get our first strawberry blooms, but no strawberries yet. Probably another month or so we'll start having a harvest of strawberries. which is always a delight. Then we've got some honeyberries that are really taking off right now. We've got 5 different varieties in a little horseshoe shape, and it looks like all of them are producing this year. We've kind of had 1 or 2 stragglers in past years that didn't produce well, but it looks like they're all going to produce well this year. If you like cranberries or like cranberry sauce, cranberry jam, anything cranberry, I highly recommend honeyberries, especially for an area like we live in. Blueberries don't do so well. That's why I chose the honeyberries, and we made some honeyberry jam last year that was just amazing. It really reminded me of cranberries. So if you like cranberries, maybe try honeyberries if cranberries don't grow well where you're at. So something else that's popping up right now is asparagus. We've got about 4 different areas where we've planted asparagus in the past, and unfortunately most of those areas are not the best for growing asparagus. They don't get enough sun, or they're overtaken by weeds heavily because they're on an edge, a fence line edge. So last year I planted some in a bed that's inside the garden that gets a little bit more sun, and those are popping up. So we won't be harvesting from them this year because they're a little too new, but hopefully by next year we'll be able to begin harvesting those. And then past all of our annual beds, we've got a small orchard area. And these are trees that we planted when we first got on the property 10 years ago. And so right now the apples are starting to come into bloom. We're hoping that most of them hold out till 4 or 5 days from now once the cold snap is past. That's one of the challenges of Missouri. We often have fruit trees that come into bloom during our late winter, early spring warm spurts that we have, and then we end up having frost after that that kills a lot of the fruit. So we're hoping and praying that we still get some fruit. Our peach trees have already finished blooming. We've got a pear tree that's in bloom right now, and then the apples coming on. So we'll see. To me, it's kind of like a miracle if we ever get fruit because of just how crazy our weather can be in the spring here in Missouri. We'll hope for a miracle this year and hope for lots of fruit. And then past our orchard, back in the corner of our kitchen garden, is a space that we gave to Esther. She doesn't have much room for anything annual though, so that's why we're giving her more space in the garden for annual plants. She really enjoys growing her own veggies and getting that experience. And it's such a joy to me that she loves gardening because the more our gardens grow, the more work there is. And I'm really appreciating that she enjoys gardening and is so willing to help and so capable now. She's learned a lot over the years, so she can do just about anything I can do, and it's wonderful. And real quick, last but not least, we do have a few pots right on the edge of our stairs going down into our root cellar and up on top of the root cellar. And so those are coming alive again. We've got some perennial flowers in those. And then the ones on top of the root cellar are blueberry pots. We've lost 1 blueberry, so we've only got 3 left, and they're very young. So there's not a whole lot of fruit coming off of them yet, but I just noticed the other day that they are starting to bloom. So hopefully we'll have some blueberries. The reason I put them in pots is because our soil is not acidic enough naturally to support blueberries very well, and so I've been able to kind of control the pH a little bit better in the pots and give them some of what they need to grow better. I think that's it for our early spring kitchen garden tour. Thanks for joining us. I love sharing the garden with you. I feel like it's a gift that the Father's given us, and I want to share it with other people. All glory to Him for the space. If not for Him, we would not have it. So thank you, Father, for the blessing of beautiful gardens and fresh food to feed the family. So real quick before we go, we have some thank yous to give. Quite a few actually. Taking a week break from filming last week, we've got kind of a pile up of thank yous. So here we go. Thank you to Matt and Donna for the flower seeds. They are beautiful. Esther and I are both always excited about flowers, so thank you for those. We look forward to growing some of those this year. And a big thank you to Christian Thorndale for the letter. You spent a lot of time on that beautiful letter. We read it to the whole family, so thank you for making the time to write to us. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the kind person who wants to remain anonymous, who got me all of the jar lids. I love these lids. They are airtight and seal really well. We use a lot of jars for all kinds of things, so I'm really thankful for these. And also thank you for these really awesome storage containers. Living in a tiny house, there's not much space, and so these are perfect. They fold up when not needed and then unfold really easily, snap together, and I'm really hoping to be able to store next year's harvest of potatoes, at least some of the harvest, in these containers, and they'll fit perfect on our pantry shelf. So thank you so much for those.
Thank you to Carolyn for this woodland style book. This book does have some fairies and some woodland spirit stuff, so I'm cutting them out because I don't want to have anything to do with that stuff. Thank you to the person who got me this survival kit and this battery organizer.
Which you've already almost totally filled up. Or is it already full?
It's missing 2 batteries, that's all.
Only missing 2 batteries. You are very efficient at filling up your storage organizers, huh? So now we know who to come to if we need a battery. And thank you as always to our patrons who make these videos possible. We really, really appreciate you guys. Until next time, we pray blessings over you and yours, and whatever you do, do it with your whole heart. Giving a little molasses water before taking them back out to the mama and daddy. And you might try and actually put these ones with the mama that's in the chicken coop, huh?
Yeah.
See if she'll take them so they'd be in a nice safe space.
Yep.
Good job, Nadie. Watching out for your flock and taking care of these babies. We all seem to be doing good. Yay, praise Yah. We're making sure that they are all able to walk around good as well. So far so good. A little wobbly, but not too bad. Oh, they're just so cute.
Let's go.
Beep, beep, beep.
They might be hungry.
Think they might be hungry?
Yeah, because they're already only drank some water. So now I might be really hungry. Now they might be hungry. Mama, do you want me to get some stuff? Do you want me to get some food outside?